Now we begin once again with ramblings in the kitchen at God's Country Place. Perhaps this will be a tape, perhaps not, but I call it rambling in the light. It's important that you understand that everything that I say is coming from a particular frame of reference, and sometimes I forget how very fundamental what the directions of an awakened mind are. How very fundamental, for example, the teachings of Jesus Christ in the Course in Miracles are. They're much too fundamental to be accepted or even finally admitted to by a split mind. Okay. Now, the process of enlightenment, that is the process of coming to a low mind and recognizing yourself as universal consciousness, is a process of giving. I want to key on that word for a minute, because the nature of the Course in Miracles is a process of forgiving, which is an indication that this is all over and that you've in fact given before of yourself. Okay. If salvation then is the process of giving, okay, we'll use sentences like, the only way to know that you have something is by giving it away. And that doesn't seem practical at all to a consciousness who is in a condition of reciprocity or exchange, does it? Okay. If I tell a consciousness coming here to give everything away and come to me, he is immediately in resistance of it because of his defense mechanism of having ideas in order to protect his identity. While he's willing to give me in concepts the notation that, for example, charity or Christian love is the sharing of God, my declaration that the only way you can know God is to give love completely is very difficult for him, because it involves a relinquishment of himself. Mm-hmm. The clash that occurs between the so-called first covenant, I'll stay in Christianity for just a moment here. The clash that occurs with first covenant consciousnesses, that is an eye for an eye, or reciprocity, or the establishment of laws on earth, and thou shalt not kill, all of those admonitions always occur with the process of giving rather than receiving. Or giving with the idea of receiving, which is an indication of what? Lack or need for substance or need to exist. Listen how fundamental this is. If what I am saying to you then from another level is true, it would be impossible for you to know that you have everything until you gave everything away. And this is met with a tremendous amount of resistance on this, in this Hades, in this shades, in this dream of reality, this dream of pain and death, which perforce makes you continue to demand recognition within the framework of yourself. Okay. The notations of experience, of enlightenment through service will come to you at a very high range, and those of you who come to me have obviously attempted to practice charity. Okay. This is a very simple process. You have felt the pain of your brother. You have attempted to give aid to your brother, okay, and share with him the abundance that you feel in your own heart. Yet you discover that no matter how much aid you provide him with, he continues to become sick and to die. Now, at that point, you have begun to examine the whole structure. You say, no matter what I do, I can't relieve my pain, or most particularly the pain of my brother. Because while I have been successful in providing abundance for my associates, I see that my brother still suffers. I want you to see how fundamental this is. I will therefore send all of these packages of goods. I'm Joseph in Egypt. I hate to use that reference. I'm going to gather up all these packages and goods and give them to my brother, and thereby assuage the guilt feelings that I have in association with my abundance and his lack. And it would appear at this point that I'm doing a very charitable thing, and indeed I am. Now, to those of you who have been charitable and still are feeling the excruciating pain of your brother and your inability to deal with the apparent chaos and death, these are the consciousnesses that will begin to hear what I teach. Okay. Here's the declaration. If indeed there are such things as sickness and pain that you see about you, they can never be healed. I say that to you in the highest sense of truth. This has nothing to do with your attempts to do it. Of course you'll attempt to do it. The whole progress that occurs in the mind is your attempt to give yourself and hold on to yourself at the same time. To have ideas of associations of what you are and to base your identity on giving. Now, you'll run into sentences in the Christian tradition like, and they're debated forever. Good works avail you nothing. Okay, that's an indication that no matter what you give away, as long as you take credit for it, you can't know that you are divine, because you will retain the idea of reciprocity. And I'm well aware of that. I'm going to turn that around just a little bit for you. I'm going to say good works will avail you everything if they're completely good. That is, if you do only good works, you'll have no problem. The problem you have is your attempt to sort out what constitutes works and what constitutes being or selfness. I maintain that works and being are not separate, because the cause of your thought will be the effect of what you are, regardless of what you say. Did I jump in too deeply there? I guess I did. I didn't mean to go that deep with it. Now, if you're going to teach the finality of your certainty, I'd say of the Course in Miracles, which nobody really wants to practice, let's try it. Okay. The reason that you forgive is that you can only give to yourself. Okay. Quite literally, the constructions that you have outside of you are your own pain. Okay, this is the little step for you now. You cannot know that they are yours until you give them everything. Jesus calls this brotherhood and love. You literally can't know who they are until you give them everything that you are. There is going to be no such thing in your teachings as reciprocity. Now, the consciousness that has practiced reciprocity and gathered abundance about him in his own relationships, okay, will resist you at a very high level, because his definition of love is one of exchange. Your definition of love is one of giving. He cannot understand the uncompromising attitude of an awakened mind with the certainty that you can only give to be. Quite literally, the closest that perceptual mind can get to creating is giving through self-expression. The higher the range of the giving, the more self-expression that goes on, because the consciousness in his giving no longer correlates himself with a limited identity and expresses a thought form outside of himself in relationship with the whole truth. In a very real way, then, this process of giving is one of coming to know yourself. The basis of the teaching, obviously, then, is to take no credit for your giving, but to only love and serve. When we have attempted to do this, there's a great deal of resistance here, because the associations of success and happiness are based on having rather than being. I'm very much aware of that. What you finally do with that in your own mind, I don't know, but I guarantee you that once you begin to experience the joy of giving, it will become very intense in you, and you will literally want to give everything that you have away in order to be free. It's going to become very obvious to you early morning here. We're going to come back in just a second. A couple of the brothers are coming in. We're talking about giving here at God's Country Place. Now we're back here. Then the process of coming to know yourself has to be giving yourself away. There is no alternative to that, because you cannot know that you have everything. Okay? You cannot know that you have everything until you give it away, because having and being are the same. As long as you're possessed by your own thoughts, you cannot know that. I don't know who takes Master Jesus' sentences in the text where he says, protect everything you value by the act of giving it away. Notice he says act. Okay, it's an act to shun yourself of these so-called necessities, and you say, well, Master, it sounds like you're teaching frugality here, like you're teaching poor in spirit, like you're teaching blessed are the meek. Oh, I am. You don't like that out there. I don't care. As long as you have what Jesus called the grandiosity ideas that you're accomplishing something, you're not going to get this, teacher. Okay? This is a process of love and forgiveness and giving. Okay? You want to examine the uncompromising statement that you will be possessed by your own thoughts and condemned to stay in time and die as long as you have ideas about yourself. Come on. This is my teaching. This is my declaration to you. Try not to attack me when I give this to you, though. There's no need for you to attack love. Master Jesus says, why do you attack love and beauty and truth when it's presented to you? We're really, and will you take that off, Lana? That's okay. We're sitting here in the kitchen at God's Country Place, and there's a kettle on the stove. It's boiling. Much like's happening to you now, you're beginning to feel the fervent response of your mind in regard to this plaintive message, aren't you? It doesn't seem possible that you could actually undergo the experience of relinquishment and feel the joy of creation because the residual of the earth shows no evidence of it. The evidence of total giving is not here because the evidence of total giving is salvation in heaven. You might look at that very plaintively, that as long as the exchange is occurring, okay, there is no reality here. This is my declaration to you. In that sense, this is a process of bringing your mind together, bringing your perceptual mind together, okay, through an evolution, through a metamorphosis. And this is the indication of transformation. And that's really what's happening to you. Be of good cheer. Now, it appears, because you are in the nature of expecting a response between your cause and effects, that when you give something in what you think of as love, okay, that the response is not as immediate. And the higher the range of your total giving, the less response you give, and the response you get. And that's absolutely true. Remember that you are accustomed to getting in return something for the act of your thoughts about giving. Now, as long as you expect, let's go to what the Course in Miracles really teaches. As long as you are in expectation of return for love, the miracle cannot occur. You are limiting simply by the framework of the expectation of the result for the act thought that's going out from you. The whole idea of the miracle, then, is to simply extend your love through the non-identity of yourself and your limited associations. We are teaching directly now, teachers, from the workbook of the Course in Miracles. The certainty that you do not know who you are, and the application of your determination to hold on to something, even though you don't know what you are or how you got here, are what are condemning you to time and death. See how easy it is? That's very simple then for you to do that. We're at God's Country Place talking about the uncompromising certainty that life, universal consciousness, is singular and whole and beautiful and has nothing to do with your determination to hold on to your limited self. We'll be back in a little bit. All right, let's deal with that just for a moment because it just came up in our discussion here at the table. In our original teachings, we used to try to present you with the statement, relinquish yourself. Blessed are the meek, and blessed are the poor in spirit, and the Beatitudes. And it was with very important statements, literal statements like, it's impossible for you to be unjustly treated. Okay. This is the statement that the protection of your limited association about yourself is a denial of God. Okay? that there really is no pain and grief outside of your thought about it. And that practice used to be one of being humble. But in this universal consciousness of split mind on earth, the idea of humility and giving and sharing is not very popular. Now, if we come at it from the other direction, we attempt to give you, within your own mind, all of the power that there is in the universe. This is called giving you a choice. This is a teaching device now. This has nothing to do with truth, brothers. Okay. Very early in the text of the Course in Miracles, Master Jesus says we are dealing literally with an impossible situation, which is what perception is. That is the idea that you can choose reality, and of course you can't. The mechanism of choice, however, is necessary since you have invented it in your time association, so of course we're going to use it. My teaching has nothing to do with choice. My teaching has to do with using choice to see that you have no choice. Now, as we indicated a little earlier on the tape, the sooner you realize, okay, that you really have no choice except to be whole and in heaven, and be singular, until you come to know that, you will continue to practice the notation of choice. And you say, well, teacher, it sounds like you're teaching give up. I see in here notations of turning your will, perhaps, in your life and everything that you have over to the care of a power that's not definable. Of course, that's my. What did you think, my teacher? Did you think that I was going to tell you that perceptual mind could arrive at the conclusion of wholeness? Come on. Perceptual mind is the antithesis of wholeness. It's exactly the opposite. The world is exactly the opposite. And you cannot come to know that except by going through a process of relinquishment or giving. And finally, you simply command your spirit. All of the pain and sorrow that you feel forever and always have been, the idea of self-identity in the association with the true identity of yourself, that is, in godly. All of the Gethsemanes, all of the dark nights of the soul are only your attempts to combat yourself in relationship with your own mind. They are nothing but that. Now, is this a gradual process? Can you come? And you'll hear these terms expressed. What you're saying then is that I must experience a bottom. Okay, have you ever heard that expression out there? Where finally I'm teaching you the futility of existence on earth. And in that sense, I am teaching that. But remember, you're not a measure of the process of your own give-upness, okay? At what point do you recoup and regroup in your determination to continue to express your own self-will rather than simply doing this? These are the teachings, obviously, of the recovery program of Alcoholics Anonymous, or in fact the recovery program of all initiation consciousnesses coming from split mind to whole mind. Those of you who hear this tape, and we're going to give a talk on the addictive programs in association with the Course or wholeness. It's the same teaching. But remember that the teachings of the 12 steps have really nothing to do with the idea of addiction, particular to alcoholism. They are teachings of the relinquishment of limited mind to coming to whole mind. They're literally it's a process of spiritual enlightenment, nothing but that. Now, those of you who have had the experience of overcoming an addiction through the release of your mind are well along the way to the idea that through the process of giving up, that there is indeed a power that is self-evident to you behind that veil of deception and resentment that you have put up to keep you from seeing your own godliness and your own reality. Now, in that sense, the relinquishment of ideas about yourself is only the relinquishment of what? Resentments. Jesus calls them grievances. Very simply, if you are a conglomerate of grievances or ideas of combat in association with yourself, you bring them from your past frame of reference, and base your reality on the grievance or the possibility that you can be harmed. Now here's where the valuable psychology that you can only cause pain to yourself. All pain is self-inflicted. You do this but to yourself, regardless of how tempted you are to believe there's something out there causing you a problem. See how you do this? See how you can practice this? These are true statements. How does this work? This works simply because you are making an admission that you are the cause of it. So you are bringing the solution to your apparent problem to where it can be resolved. Obviously, if the problem is outside of you, if you have a grievance against your brother, you hold him responsible for your actions. Okay? You respond to him then by attacking or defending yourself from him. Do you see how fundamental this is? Remember I said at the beginning of the tape how very basic this is? I'm looking you right in the eye now. I'm looking at your other eye here, at your Holy Spirit eye. And I am proclaiming to you to don't be defensive in your own mind relationships, and you will feel the miracle of the transformation that will occur in you. What an incredibly beautiful thing that is. You see, but you see how basic we are? I'm telling you to give up your grievances. Because the rest of the world bases its perceptual reality on attack and defense doesn't mean that you should, because until you overcome it, they can't. Would you care to hear that as the final part of this talk this morning? Okay. The basis of the teachings of subjective reality indicate to you that this is your world. Okay. No matter how tempted you are to think that there's something outside of your dream about it, there isn't. You are the cause of this. This will give you a real good feeling if you're ready to look at it. The first feeling you'll have when you look at this is kind of fearful. You go, holy mackerel. You mean this is between me and the rest of the universe? And I say, yeah. It has nothing to do with the images that you have constructed to hold mutual grievances outside of you. That is to commiserate with your own death process. No. Now, you'll like that. Why? Because it's individual transformation, and indeed the transformation is individual and singular. Now we're into teaching initiation. We want to show you that you can actually go through a process in your own mind where you change the world. This is the declaration of Master Jesus that you are the Savior of the world, but why should that be such a big deal if you constructed the world? If you'll look at what you've constructed, and I'm talking about the whole world, and are determined to change your mind about it, it will be changed. Remember that the world was constructed outside of the framework of reality. And your relinquishment of it then is necessarily a part. A nice way to teach it with Master Anna, who will be out to see you in California, perhaps Master Rose, or Master Carlos, one of the teachers, will direct you to include all of your thoughts in, okay, with your conceptual evaluation rather than exclude. This is forgiveness at its highest level. You literally examine your own guilt and death processes in association with yourself. You don't bury anything. Okay? This is not different than the 12-step program with the indications of the 4th and 5th step that commands you to seek forgiveness through the acknowledgement of guilt. I have no problem with that. If you want to seek to give forgiveness through the acknowledgement of guilt, you acknowledge that you're guilty and I'll forgive you. The process is one of you accepting my forgiveness. That's how simple this is. Okay? This will be fun for you as the brothers come together and you practice this changing of your mind. And we want to assure you that it involves more than just your perceptions and conceptions of yourself. It must involve all of you. And that's fearful to you. You would much rather take, for example, your ideas of the mind and separate them from the emotions of your heart. But I promise you that an emotion is an idea. I assure you that you can only be and cannot have ideas, and indeed cannot have emotions. You cannot have love. You love your brother through service of giving to him, don't you? Finally, the bridge to total love is one of communication. If I am not threatened by my previous thoughts about you, I extend to you the certainty that I have created you in my own whole mind. Okay? Disassociation or a break in communication is all that the schism ever was. It has nothing to do with the fractured parts that you attempt to bring together then in associations of your own limited reality today. Hey, I love you. I'll do anything in the universe for you because you are in my mind as whole things, and you have instructed me within this framework of time to come to you from super time. This is a course in speeding up time, and remind you that indeed we are reminiscing about this, and that you and I never left heaven. We'll be back. Thank you.